Hello, everybody. So today it's the 6th of November, and yesterday we got the announcement of the Australian Ashes squad for at least for the first test. Now, we're having a 15-man squad for one test. It might not be the same squad for the second, even, let alone third, fourth, fifth. And of course, Pat Cummins is hoping to come back for the second, and it's sort of 50-50 whether it'll be second or third. We're thinking he probably will be back for the third. There's a possibility we'll have to wait to the fourth as well. If he's not ready for the fourth, he's probably not going to be ready for the fifth. So we're thinking second, third. So that's probably going to be one change, but there might be some others. It's the only one that I can think of, but it will depend on how players go. Now, first of all, so let's start by looking at the 15-man squad. I also should say, so since COVID, it's actually become a rule that we have COVID reserves. So before that, it would have been quite common to have named a 12-man squad with one player to be decided on the day, or you even know who your 11 is. That used to be quite common, but because of the chance that someone has COVID and then they have to be isolated, and then potentially a few others have locked out, they require bigger squads. So that's why there's a big squad, even though it's only for one test. And also note England have got a 21-man squad. I haven't gone over that yet. I haven't really looked at it properly. I don't really care that much. I don't know that it makes much of a difference when England are playing the way they do. Um, but anyway, so let's have a look starting off, and I'm going to do it in rough batting order. So there's 15-man squad. To start with, we have Usman Khawaja and Jake Weatherald. Now, it's pretty likely that those two will open. Um, there is no other specialist openers, just those two. Now, so there's been some talk that Marnus Labuschagne could open, but he's only opened once before, and he hated it. And that was his last test, by the way, at the World Test Championship. So he missed the three tests in West Indies. He's only missed three tests. So it's only 3 tests ago, or 4 tests ago, that he was playing for Australia. And he last played as an opener, and then we went back to Constas, and now Constas is not even in the squad. So there's no Constas in the squad. There's no Renshaw in the squad. Now, I'd actually been following it, so I felt like before the first three Shield matches, um, because of Constas being the incumbent, and I felt that, I mean, if you looked at how they went in Australia A matches, they both did pretty well, both Constas and Weatherald. And I know Weatherald got the most runs in the Sheffield Shield last year, and he had a couple of extra Australia A matches, but it really felt like Constas was a little bit ahead. And I sort of felt like in the first two Shield matches, and from memory, Weatherald got two half centuries and Constas got one. So it was a little bit of a difference, and a lot of people in the media weren't aware that Constas got a half century. So that was in the second Shield match in really difficult batting conditions. New South Wales were facing a low target. Constas very nearly won New South Wales the match from almost nowhere. That was a fourth inning score, particularly difficult, and I felt that put Constas back to just barely ahead. I'd probably say it was even after two Shield matches, but because he's the incumbent, because he's younger, because he has the experience, he was ahead. Third Shield match. Now I know that Weatherall failed, but they were difficult batting conditions, and we've got to pay attention to the batting conditions. But Constas was in an easy batting condition, and he failed, and that was the only real proper failure that he had in the first three matches. Now I think he got 10, and then he got 42 in the second innings, and 42, but it's not great. And they were easy batting conditions. Steve Smith got a century. It was not something where you had the excuses. So because of that, I felt that Weatherald went just ahead. Now I know that sounds weird, that Weatherald had two failures, but that pushed him from just behind to just ahead. But again, it's the difficulty of the batting conditions, and we also note that he had the two moderate successes, two half centuries, when they were in easier batting conditions or more average batting conditions. So I felt for me that Weatherald was just ahead, and Weatherald should be in the 11. Of course, we do have one more Shield match, and if Constas got a big century in that one, I would have put him ahead again. But so for me, I had Weatherall in the 11, but Constas in the 12 or in the squad. But then there was also, you see, that's just if you're just saying, oh, okay, this is for a partner for Khawaja. This is for a partner for Khawaja for the first test. And that's the situation where they're all just ahead of Constance. And really, I don't see anybody else in the mix, realistically. Now, I know there were a lot of people were talking about Matthew Renshaw. And look, as far as, look, for that test, no. But he did get a century in easy batting conditions. And he did do well in the three one day international, which is great for him. That shows that his mental issues, where he's sort of talking himself out of doing well for Australia because of when he was dropped unfairly back in 2017 in favour of Cameron Bancroft, that may be starting to resolve. But we also have to note that he hasn't been scoring that many runs, and I mean, I don't know. Look, it's there is an argument for putting Renshaw in the side ahead of Weatherall, which is because Renshaw has the experience. And but I also feel that, like, because we're looking not just for someone to partner Khawaja, but also to replace him, because Khawaja's 38. And I mean, Warner, who's the same age as him, retired 2 years ago. 2 years ago. And that was old age, basically. 36, 35, 35, 36 is when most cricketers retire. He's 38. Now, I know some have gone to 40, some have gone beyond 40. It's unusual. I think Inzman Al Haq went till he was 40, Chashan Dulk went till he was 40. So even if he went till he was 40, a lot of players like to go out on a big series. And in test matches, the biggest series, well, we have the World Test Championship, and we also have the Ashes. And I really don't think that the World Test Championship is at that level. Now, for Indians, of course, they look at the India-Pakistan Test series, maybe. But for Australia, it's definitely the Ashes, and it's the home Ashes, because you want to go out on your home ground. Your home, his home ground is the SCG. Now, I know he's born in Pakistan, but he's not going to go. I don't think he wants to retire in Pakistan. I mean, he's got a family in Australia. He's married. He's got kids. Sydney is his home ground, and that's the venue of the fifth test of this Ashes. Now, I can't guarantee that he'll retire. That he hasn't said he'll retire, but I really would be shocked if he waits another 4 years and retires at 42 the next time that the Ashes comes around. I think that's just not likely. And if he retires after that, I think that there's not going to be another big series. I mean, I know we like India's series nowadays, where we get pumped up for them. I'm not sure when we're next playing against India. It's possible he'll look at retiring against India in Australia. I mean, what else? Would he retire in England? I mean, that's still a big series. The Ashes series in England is a big series, but you want to retire in front of your home ground. You always do. You want to do that. So I really feel like this series is the one for him to go out on. And with that in mind, Jake Weatherall, who was already ahead on merit, just barely, he goes even further ahead because we need to blood him. And that means essentially, like, we'll go to the end of these 5 tests and decide, okay, number 1, did Weatherall do well enough to keep his spot? And number 2, who is replacing Khawaja? And do we have someone that's good enough to join Weatherall? And that's the question. So right now, I think that we don't know if Weatherall is going to make the step up to Test cricket. He might. He deserves a chance. But we don't know that he definitely will. And I think the question is really, assuming he fails, how many tests does he get? And I'd say it's probably 2 to 3. Now, Nathan McSweeney last year had 3. I felt that was probably one too many, considering how badly he was going. It was certainly touch and go whether he got a 3rd test. And I think that the same situation should be given to Weatherall. If he does well, he gets all 5 tests. If he completely stuffs it up, he gets 1. Although I really think that 1 would probably be unfair. I think even if he gets Golden Ducks, he still gets a 2nd test. But if he gets 2 tests of failures, I think that's it. And I'm going to actually say, so sometime in those first two tests, I want him to get at least one half century. Don't care about the conditions. He wants to get one half century to get the third test, to be selected in the third test. So, I mean, that's not a hard and fast rule. Like if it's really difficult to bat on and he gets 20, 20, 30, 30, okay, maybe. But if it's, you know, unless it's, well, I mean, last year they were pretty low scores. But yeah, I think I really do want him to get a 50 in those first two tests, at least one half century. Doesn't have to be top scores in both matches. Just either match, he needs to have one of those two matches where he looks the part. Let's just say he looks the part. Let's not worry about too much about a score. He looks the part. He looks like he belongs. That can be the first test or the second test. And that, if he looks the part at least a little bit, he gets the third test. He does the third test. Now that's where we really look hard. And I think that he needs to probably get a century or two half centuries. And he probably needs to either look the part in two of those tests or at least for bits of two of those tests. And if I'm going to put a batting average at him, I'm going to say 30. So if he averages 30 across those three tests, he gets to play in all five. I'm not going to play him in four and then drop him. Well, it'd be unless he's injured or there's some exceptional circumstance, because that just seems silly. But he could be dropped after two. He could be dropped after three. Now, who replaces him? I mean, at the moment, our two main contenders are Constas and Renshaw. And I think that Constas is quite a long way ahead of Renshaw. But there is an argument to play Renshaw, because there is an argument that you say, okay, we've got Constas out of the time side. Let's leave him out for a while. Let's just not play him this series. Let's just make him feel that he's no chance. And therefore you put Renshaw in. And you try to give Renshaw some confidence. And I think there is an argument to doing that. And would we consider anyone else? Now, Will Saltzman has a good batting average, but he's got two half centuries. I think he's only opened once. He's described as a bowling all rounder. I mean, we could give him a shot. And then there's some people calling on Campbell, Kellaway. I think it's very risky. There's Henry Hunt. He seems to be a pretty solid trier. We could even give it to Josh Inglis. I think that's a bit of an issue because Inglis wants to be the wicketkeeper. And Marnus Labuschagne is a bigger issue than that because he doesn't want to open. And we've got Mitchell Marsh as another interesting one. We've got Mitchell Marsh that, I mean, he was in the test side last year. It's not that long ago. He was an incumbent all-rounder that wasn't bowling. So a non-bowling all-rounder. Don't know how that works. And he was dropped basically because of injury, because we needed him to be bowling. The fast bowlers just couldn't handle it. So, look, it would depend on what happens with everybody else, and also what happens to Weatherall. If Weatherall does well enough, he's playing all five tests for me. If he doesn't do well enough, then it's an open field really as to who comes back. At the moment, it's probably either Constas or Renshaw to replace him. But and look, the other thing is, even if Weatherall doesn't play all five tests, it doesn't mean that he's not in the side for the next series. So let's say Weatherall plays two tests, does badly, and then we bring back, let's say, Renshaw for 3, 4, 5. Or let's say Constas for 3, 4, 5. And I think there is merit to bringing in Constas at the MCG. That was where he did well. So that's the fourth test. You could potentially bring Constas in for the fourth and fifth tests. But even if you did that, Khawaja then retires, you could bring Weatherall back again. So for the next series, you could have Weatherall and Constas, or Weatherall and Renshaw, or whoever it would be. Because we're looking not just at this test series, but I think it's fair to assume Khawaja is most likely going to retire at the end of this series. Now, then we got the number 3 to 6. Now, at the moment, none of the four incumbents are out of form, but none of them want to bat at 3. Now, Green is at 3, but he doesn't want to be at 3. Smith doesn't want to be at 3. Green wants to be at 4. Smith wants to be at 4. Smith gets the say. Green's actually got a better batting record in tests, batting at 6. So we might want to put him at 6. Even though he says he wants to bat at 4, he doesn't want to bat at 3. Green, sorry mate, you just do what you're told. Um, so that from that point of view, with Marnus Labuschagne, there is a lot of talk that says, well, he wants to bat at 3, nobody else does, put him at 3. But in doing so, we'd have to drop somebody who's in form. Now, it's obviously not going to be Smith or Head, but then we're going to look at, would it be Green or Webster? Now, if it's Green's, this is what Green's going to say. He's going to say, what? You brought me in when I'm not bowling. Now I can bowl and you're dropping me? How does that make sense? And he just go, you're idiots, and then just walk off. Now, Bo Webster, on the other hand, will go, oh, I was the 5th best all-rounder. I only got the job because the top 4 best all-rounders were all injured at the same time. The top 4 being Green, Mitchell Marsh, Aaron Hardy, and Michael Neser. All injured at the same time. That's why Webster got in. But then you go, oh, didn't I do well enough? Oh. And he would go into his shell. And I would predict if Webster's dropped while in form, but he was the best player for Australia for last year, I don't think he'll play again. And do we want to lose Webster? That's the question. Do we want to lose Webster just because Labuschagne's got a couple of centuries? And it is only 2 centuries in Sheffield Shield matches, by the way. Well, 2 out of 3 matches, that's pretty good. The other centuries were in 1 days, and they don't necessarily translate. And don't forget, he's not just out of form in tests, he's also out of form in Australian one-day internationals for Australia. He got like 1 or 4 the last time he played for Australian one-days. So, and that was after he was dropped in tests. They said, oh, we'll give him a go in 1 day. He failed. So there are question marks about him. Now, I know the media's going, oh, we love him. They always like to manipulate statistics to say whatever story they want to say. But, yeah, it is a bit of a risk. But if you were to drop Green, he'll be a bit going, what? Webster will be a lot more understanding, but I would think that Webster would then, maybe have a year or 2 left in Shield cricket and then retire. And will never play for Australia again. And I think that'd be pretty sad after how well he's done and how much he's put into it. I think it'd be unfair. It's less unfair to Green, but a lot of people are saying it's more likely to be Webster. But it is unfair for both of them. So how could you play Labuschagne with both of them playing? The only way to do it is to drop Lyon. Now, Lyon was hopeless at Perth Stadium last year and the year before. Was also hopeless at the Gabba last year. He was pretty useless in the West Indies, and they dropped him for the 3rd test. Now, he was good in Sydney and Melbourne, don't get me wrong. But he needs to have a pitch that suits him. Otherwise, he's just there and either bowls no overs, and therefore what the hell's he doing in the side because he can't bat, or he's just soaking up overs and giving the opposition a free 100 runs or so, or however much he bowls. So, last year, in retrospect, it would have been a good idea at Perth Stadium and at the Gabba to axe Lyon. And I think that's, after 2 years in a row of doing this, I think it's time to swing the hammer. So Lyon doesn't play for me. Now, the other alternatives in the squad, we have Sean Abbott and Brendan Doggart. And now, neither of them really feel to me like they're test quality. The next one after Scott Boland should have been Jai Richardson. I know he's got injury issues. But then we have Sheffield Shield Player of the Year for last year, Fergus O'Neill. Why was he not at least one of the 2 names? The mind boggles. Fergus O'Neill, he's like 24, he averages 21 with the ball, 24 with the bat. Like, I know they're calling him a bowling all-rounder. We don't need him to bat top 6. He's going to bat at 8 or 9. But why was he not, at least in the squad? I mean, I know Doggett was good 2 or 3 years ago. But I don't know why he's the next best. I know Abbott was in the squad last year. Um, I know he's got a lot of experience, one day internationals, T20s, um, and he's a pretty good batsman, a late order hitter. Probably as good a batsman as Pat Cummins, but nowhere near as good a bowler. I mean, the thing is that Abbott is only useful in one days and T20s because he bats well. If he was there just for his bowling, he wouldn't make the cut. So, and the question is whether a good number 8 or number 9 batsman is good enough for the side when their bowling isn't up to speed. Now, his bowling probably is better than Green's and better than Webster's, but his batting's nowhere near as good. And I don't know if him potentially getting a 4 or 6 batting at 8 or 9 is really worth it when he's not good enough as a bowler. I think that's a bit of a problem. I mean, I can understand why you put Abbott in the side compared to Doggett, because Doggett is injury prone. He's just recovered from injury. He might not last the 5 days. And Doggett's inexperienced. He might be overwhelmed by the occasion, particularly in Ashes. And it can't bat. Doggett's a terrible batsman. So there's 3 things against him. But if you placed Fergus O'Neill there instead of Doggett, and you were comparing O'Neill to Abbott, well, you're not. It's difficult to put Abbott ahead of O'Neill. O'Neill's a better batsman. O'Neill's a better bowler, and then you just have that experience, and I don't think it's enough. You put O'Neill next to Doggett. O'Neill's a better bowler. O'Neill's a better batsman, and they're both lacking experience. O'Neill's younger. Doggett's not in the picture. So I feel that those 2 were selection blunders. Now I don't know who the second fast bowler would have been besides O'Neill. I can't say for certain who that definitely would have been. I thought O'Neill was a definite pick. But it was strange to me that Doggett and Abbott were the 2. And I know that why are you having 2? You're obviously having 2 because you're considering not playing line. But you have in line because you're considering playing line. Because we've always played line. We always played a spinner, even when the pitches and conditions were completely wrong for spinners. So, I mean, they're just the wrong picks. I mean, obviously you'd have Joe Richardson if he was fit and available. It's obviously not. I know we were talking up Lance Morris a little while ago. He doesn't seem to have done very much recently. Nathan McAndrew got the most wickets last year. I mean, nobody's talking about him. Why is it not Nathan McAndrew and Fergus O'Neill for the 2? Surely they're the 2 most informed bowlers. Do we not care about form for bowlers, only for batsmen? It really is quite confusing to me why those 2 are the picks. They wouldn't be my picks. And for me, I think that I don't know if the selectors are considering dropping line and not playing either Doggett or Abbott. But I think that realistically, if you have 3 premium fast bowlers and 2 all-rounders who can bowl a decent number of overs, that is enough for a test match. Now, I know that seems wrong. It's a bad balance, but it's actually kind of not. I mean, 3 proper bowlers and 1 all-rounder is not enough. You'd normally have 4 bowlers and an all-rounder, but if you have 3 bowlers and 2 all-rounders, it could be enough. And that really is a better side than having Lyon there, not bowling, or perhaps worse, bowling and then conceding 100 runs without having any chance of taking a wicket. But the question then is, I know Webster can bowl, 10 or 15 good quality overs, and Webster can even bowl a bit of spin if necessary, although I don't think we're going to need spin at Perth Stadium. But can Green bowl that many overs? If he can, I think this is viable. If he can't, it's not. And then we're going to have to go back to playing one of the proper bowlers and then perhaps leaving Barnes, Labuschagne out. And I mean, for me, it really is, in many ways, it's that choice. So if Green, let's have number one. Decision number one. Is Green fit and able to bowl all of his overs? Like, this could be 15 overs an innings. And well enough that he could be taking wickets. If he is, do we want to play 3 fast bowlers, 2 all-rounders, no Lyon, no Abbott, no Doggett, and put Marnus Labuschagne in the side? If so, that's our team. Option number 2. If Green is not fit to bowl the overs, do we play Lyon? I don't think we do. And then which of those 2 bowlers plays? And then we have to ask the next question. Is Doggett fit to last five days? If he is, do we think that he's in good enough form and able to handle the occasion enough not to be overwhelmed? Or do we just blood him anyway, even if he is going to be overwhelmed? It's probably if Doggett is fit, well, assuming that we're not playing, just the 3 bowlers and the 2 all-rounders. If Doggett's fit, he's playing. And then we've got to ask the next question. Do we want to drop an informed player just to accommodate Labuschagne? I don't think we do. So, if Green's... okay. Question number 1. Is Green fit? If he is, he and Webster both play along with Labuschagne, and we just have 3 bowlers. Question number 2. So, if Green's not fit, we go to question number 2. Question number 2. Is Doggett fit? If Doggett's fit, we play Doggett, we drop Labuschagne. Play our traditional... play 4 pace bowlers. 6 batsmen, 5 batsmen, 1 all-rounder, 4 pace bowlers. Green's playing as a batsman. Labuschagne's not playing. And then we've got question number 3. Is Green able to play? If he's injured, we play Labuschagne instead of him. Question number 4. Is Webster fit to play? So if Webster's not fit to play, Josh Inglis comes in. Now, if that's the case, if Webster's not fit to play, well, we're playing the 4 fast bowlers, probably Doggett, if not Doggett, then Abbott. And that's when Inglis comes in. Because Inglis is in the squad. And I think, for me, Inglis is there for double injury cover. The first injury cover is Marnus. The second injury cover is Inglis. So, only if Green and Webster are both out do they both play. Now, if that's the case, we don't have an all-rounder. We just have 4 fast bowlers. And that might be too big a workload. But I think in that situation, we do get Labuschagne to bowl a bit. He has been bowling a bit lately. And we also know Head can bowl a little bit. I know there's spin, but they've been bowling a bit lately, both of them. Smith doesn't really bowl anymore. We can get him to bowl if we want to. Webster can bowl spin. I don't think we need him to, but I think that he won't be in the side in that situation. So I think that's there. So for me, Labuschagne, Inglis, and Abbott are injury cover, and the only actual decision we're making is either Lyon or Doggett. However, we also have the possibility of neither of them, and we play Labuschagne only if Green is fit and can bowl a good number of overs. So that's what my understanding of the whole thing. Labuschagne should not open. Now I know Bailey hinted, anybody in the top 3 can. Don't talk like that, mate. Don't. You can't do that. Now, the second test, Brisbane, nowadays at the Gabba, I believe it's still good for bowling, and it would still be a mistake to play Lyon. But obviously, if we find that, in the first test, it's been a problem having all pace, then we'll bring Lyon back. For me, Lyon's not playing in the first test. I think it'd be a mistake to play him. But, I mean, unless he's very different and the ground's very different to what it was last year, I'm not aware that that is the case. But, you know, it'd need to be a spectacular difference to last year and the year before in order for Lyon to be even in consideration. So for me, Lyon's not playing. Well, Lyon's not playing. Abbott. Well, Abbott and Inglis are definitely injury cover. Marnus is either injury cover or he's there if and only if Green can bowl that many overs and not break down. And we decide that we want to go in with just 3 pace bowlers. But the other thing is, the way that I'm hearing the pace bowlers talk, perhaps not Scott Boland, probably not Pat Cummins that much, but certainly, yeah, Stark for sure, and more recently Hazelwood, they want all-rounder support. They will not be happy going in without an all-rounder. If Webster and Green are both injured, they will want another all-rounder call in. Now, who that would be, I think it'd be Aaron Hardy, unless he's injured. It could be Michael Neser if he's fit to play. I think Aaron Hardy's a better batsman, but it'd probably be out of those two. So realistically, if Green and Webster are both ruled out from injury, I reckon we'll get another all-rounder. I think Neser is probably the better player, but Neser's more of a bowler. So Aaron Hardy, I think, will be the one. I think it will be Hardy if they're both injured. As far as I know, Marsh still not able to bowl, so he can't be considered for the all-rounder spot. If he was able to bowl, yeah, he'd be a chance, and I think probably a pretty good chance. He started out as a pure bowler, and at domestic level, I saw his first match, a T20, and he was a brilliant bowler on debut. Mitchell Marsh was. I didn't think he'd ever evolve into being an opening batsman. That was never anything I thought was a possibility. Anyway, so my predicted 11 is, so what I think they'll probably go with is that Usman Khawaja and Jake Weatherall will be the openers. And there is a bit of flexibility with the rest of it. I'm saying Green will play it at 3, and we'll go with the same 3 to 6 that we had. So Green at 3, Smith at 4, Head at 5, Webster at 6, Carey at 7. Now, if fit, Doggett's playing. As I'm going with number 8 is going to be Mitchell Stark. Number 9, I'm not sure how good a batsman Doggett is, but I'm going to put Doggett at 9. I'm not sure who's better at a bowling than Hazelwood, but I'm putting Hazelwood at 10, Boland at 11. And again, that 9, 10, 11 might be in a different order. That's my 11. So I think that's probably the safest 11. It doesn't feel completely unfair. It doesn't feel completely silly. Labuschagne opening seems stupid. Labuschagne at 3 seems unfair. Unless we go in with one less bowler, and Boland will be fine. He can just bowl forever. He's fine. But I don't see Hazelwood and Stark being too happy about it. So I think they'll push back if that is what is being suggested. And I think ultimately Labuschagne will be okay with being injury cover, because people are going to get injured. And I know that seems so unfair. Got 5 centuries in 7 matches. He has to be picked. He's an automatic pick. But don't forget, he has still yet to succeed at test level. And it is different. And also don't forget, 3 of those 5 centuries were in one-day domestic matches. They are different to Shield matches. Yeah, I know, he's averaged 80 in the Shield as well this season in 3 matches. 2 centuries in 3 matches. That's great. That's fantastic. No doubt. That's what we want. There were also easy batting conditions, but he's still got the runs. But we do not yet know whether he can translate that to test form. I mean, hopefully he can, but we don't know. So I'm happy for him to be injury cover. I don't think there should be a rush to bring him back. I think we were stable with our 3 to 6 in the West Indies, and I don't want to stuff that up. Yeah, Inglis, I don't know I mean, he's in the squad in case Green and Webster are both injured at the same time. So I'm concerned that's what he's there for. He's an injury cover. He wouldn't have even been in the squad if not for the whole COVID thing. And yeah, I think that Lyon versus Doggett is really the final decision. Abbott's not playing, Labuschagne is not playing, Inglis is not playing unless there's an injury, and I think probably Doggett will play ahead of Lyon, unless there's big changes. So that's it anyway. So that's my whole assessment. I know it took a little while, but that's my assessment of the squad. I don't completely agree with it. I wouldn't have put Inglis in the squad. I would have put Renshaw there. Wouldn't have picked Doggett and Abbott. I can understand Abbott to cover Doggett, but I would have put Fergus O'Neill. Probably would have put Fergus O'Neill and Nathan McAndrew. Probably. Can't be sure who that second bowler would have been, but I looked at the Shield record. Yeah, Nathan McAndrew, and no one's talking about him. I mean, he's leading wicket taker last year, and nobody talks about him. Leading run scorer, Jake Weatherald, he's in the team. Leading wicket taker, not even in discussion. It's weird. We have a different view of bowlers. Batsmen, we always just like to manipulate those statistics. Bowlers, it's a complete hunch. Anyway, so that's my view of it. I don't have high hopes for Doggett, I'm sorry, but I do think he'll make his debut. I'm not sure how Weatherall will go. Again, I think it will be a big step up for him. He might not do very well, but fingers crossed he does do well. We do need to have that second opener and the first soon as well. So I am hoping that Weatherall does well. I don't have high hopes for him. Doggett, it's difficult to imagine him doing well, but you never know. Might be wrong. So anyway, so that's it for me. I really am hopeful that Labuschagne doesn't play unless it's injury cover, because that would be awful for Webster, awful for Australia if he opens, pretty bad for Green as well, and a bit unstable if we go in with the extra batsman, which would just hurt our bowlers too much. So sorry about that. I do not have Labuschagne in my side. I know everybody's going to hate me for that, but that is just the reality. Anyway, that's it from me. Bye-bye now.